Question for you guys. So, towards the end of Alex's review of Extreme Rules last night, he talked about the fact, and he even talked about it at the beginning, that if you're going to give a Booker of the Year award away between two top candidates, nominees, that being Triple H and Tony Khan, that Triple H pretty much right now is in the driver's seat. That he is the one you have to give the reward to. He's the one that has to get a majority of the nominations, after, this second half of the year. Mainly because of the fact of how he's presented a lot of the talent, in just his first 2 months or so of being in charge. I mean, he has done things nobody thought was possible. My hand just hit the wall there by accident, sorry. But, he has done things that many people thought were virtually impossible. One, he got Johnny Gargano, and his wife Candice LeRae separately, but both Johnny and Candice to come back to WWE. And a lot of people thought that these two were going to be AEW bound, maybe Impact bound, at least. Well, maybe not Impact bound, but you get the idea. Everybody thought they were going to be all elite. Without a shadow of a doubt, they thought, oh, these two are all elite. There's no way they'll go back to WWE as long as Vince, is running things. So, okay, hold on. Like I said, people thought, oh, they're going to go back to they're going to go to AEW, maybe even Impact or Japan and Shimmer. There's no way they're going to go back to WWE as long as Vince is running things, right? Well, Vince ain't there anymore, and they're back. Not only are they back, but so is Hit Row. And also now on SmackDown, you've got Legato Fantasma, if you will. You got Legato Fantasma with Zelina Vega, which is a smart move. I will give him that. If you're gonna push Elektra Lopez, give her time. Let her, do her thing. In WWE, in WWE NXT, I should say. Let her do her thing there. Let her train, and go from there. That's what you should do. Let her train. Let her get more experience, and then when she's ready, then you bring her up. That's the right thing to do. But pairing Legato Fantasma with Zelina on SmackDown is a smart move. There is no doubt about that. And thankfully, they got rid of that whole Queen Zelina crap. Because that was not needed. No disrespect to her, all right, to Trinidad, okay? I think that's her name. But, that was not needed. She did not need to do that just to maintain her job. So putting her with Legato Fantasma, I think, is a great move. And already you're going to see that they want to position Santos and his team as viable threats in any division, or not just in any division they're in, but mostly on the entire SmackDown brand. They're going to be a threat. And it looks like the first feud's going to be with Hit Row, because let's not forget, before this whole 2.0 thing happened, they were engaged in a feud with 2.0. They kidnapped B-Fab, which was a way to write her off and, of WWE television, that's, aka release her. So obviously they got storyline continuity there, so that's going to be something interesting to look at, and it gives B-Fab somebody she can actually go promo to promo with, in Zelina Vega, as well as maybe let's not kid ourselves, she does need time to get better, but B-Fab can be somebody that can get physical and potentially get in the ring. So you got so basically from a manager promo off deal, you got two good mouthpieces with those groups, and when the time is right, you have a potential matchup waiting in the rings. I'm just saying. But anyway, you have them now on SmackDown and being pushed as a huge force, along with Hit Row. You got LA Knight back to being LA Knight, not Max Dupree, which obviously means over time they're going to have Mansoor become Mansoor again. And what's the other? What do they call Mace? They call him Mance. They're gonna have him Mace again, or back to his real name, or his other name anyway. And Maxine will either stay Maxine, or she'll go back to being Sophia, and maybe go back to NXT. We shall see. But you got all this happening now. You got the Intercontinental, you got championships being featured more prominently. Like the Intercontinental Championship and the U.S. Championships being elevated to main event status because, of course, Roman has both WWE and Universal Championships, and those are a little hard to feature when he doesn't want to always be at work. So that's going on. You got the tag team titles, both, believe it or not, being elevated a little bit more. The women's not so much, but that's going to take time. They will get there. But you have, that championship, you have those championships sort of getting a bit of elevation. Even if you are going back, to a status quo as we've seen before, like it looks like they want to do with the New Day and the Usos, but I think that's just like a holding ground because it looks like they're building up the Viking Raiders to be the ones to take the SmackDown titles, or at least the unified titles. They're building them up. And also you got Sarah Logan coming back, and there's a potential tag team with her and Liv, and you can align Liv with either Bray Wyatt's group, because it looks like that might be the direction they go, or you can align her with the Viking Raiders, and you can put her and Sarah Logan as a tag team. So it's taking time, but in just 2 months, if not more, 2+ months, a lot of people have agreed that Triple H has done a far better job, a far more superior job than Tony Khan has in the first 3 years of AEW. And it's all because basically Triple H is doing what Tony Khan will not do. He's not putting everything on himself. He's overseeing everything. He's basically saying, okay, let me see this idea. Okay, I like it, but let's tweak it. Let's go this way. Or, that's not a good idea. Redo that. Let's try something else. He's overseeing it. He's not being Tony Khan going like, okay, I'm going to do this. Okay, that was done. Okay, I'm going to do this. That's done. I'm going to book this match and I'm going to make him go high flying crazy. That's done. No, he's not doing that. He's not taking it upon himself. All right? To oversee his own, to oversee what he does. Triple H is overseeing what is being presented to him. Yeah, he's the overall content, creative content officer, if you will. But he's not, like I said, taking it upon himself to do a lot of things. He's basically, like I said, looking at all the ideas, approving them, but having them tweaked, disapproving them and say, hey, let's go try something else. He's basically overseeing what can and cannot work, what can work but tweaked, and all that. So he's doing all that with a team. He's not just doing it himself. Tony Khan is basically overseeing himself. And even though he's getting the idea of how to book a good television show, like match-wise and promo-wise and all that, and don't get me wrong, he's long-term booking-wise, he's, like from character developing, storyline developing, he's kind of falling behind. I mean, there are a few exceptions, don't get me wrong. I said before, Jade Cargill is an exception. I still believe that they're building up Jade Cargill to be a double champion at Full Gear. I mean, again, you look at who they've had her face. They've had her face not just up and coming talent, but a who's who of women's wrestlers. And she's beat them. Whether she's beat them clean, with interference, whatever the case is, she's beaten them. And she's done it in almost dominant fashion. The point is, she's being positioned to potentially go off to be a double champion. Because what else is there going to be for her to do And if you don't have Thunder Rosa back in time for Full Gear, and especially with things going on there behind the scenes with her, not just injury-wise, but elsewise, who else are you going to get? I mean, no disrespect to Toni Storm, no disrespect to Soraya, no disrespect to Britt Baker. They're all great talents, and they're all worthy of being champions. No disrespect to Hikaru Shida or Riho or any of them. They're all great champions. They have been great champions, and they could be great champions. But Jade Cargill has star potential written all over her. She has crossover media potential, written all over her. And if you're Tony Khan and you've been a fan of this business, this industry for this long, if there's one thing is going to get your company a lot of attention, that in the long run, that is to have a crossover star that represents your company. And right now, the only one they have is Jade Cargill. She's the only one. And that's why I still believe they're going to position her into that that position of being a double champion. And what it does in the end, like I mentioned, is it has the TBS title actually have some importance to it, because now you could have her vacated after having a brief period with both titles. You could have her vacated in favor of the world title. You could put a tournament together again, or a battle royal or whatever, and whoever wins that, becomes the new TBS champion. After, and basically that person is now going to be put into a storyline position of having to, basically live up to the status, to the status, the legacy that Jade left behind with that title. They're going to have to live up to that. They're going to have to live up to that and try to surpass it. And whoever gets that opportunity, the storyline writes itself. And if you want to make it more important when that time comes, then you make it a championship, just like you did with the situation with the Grand Slam of Champions. You make it a champions-only tournament. You get your former AEW women's champions. You get former women's champions from, when they were in other companies. You put them in the tournament, and you go from there. That's what you do. You go from there. And like I said, whoever wins, the storyline will write itself that, even though they're the second TBS champion, now they got to basically, live up to the legacy, the status that Jade put on that title when she had it, as well as now try to make it their goal to surpass it. And I can't think of a better storyline to book, or a better way to, conclude one major storyline and begin another. But that's one of the major exceptions. That's one of the major exceptions. Otherwise, as of late, it's not felt like Tony Khan has basically booked the shows like he used to. He doesn't have that long-term creative booking that he used to have. And now he's coming up with, reasonings of, why he's doing it. He's coming up with all these different reasonings as to why he's been doing this lately. And yeah, some of it might be, reasonable arguments, but still it's still not the same. And people, like I said, are used to what you presented to them originally. What you presented to them originally when you first started, and now you're going in a completely different direction to where, you're learning. Like, here's the thing. It's like booking storylines and character development has definitely changed. It's like that's gone a little askew, but in turn, he's learning how to book wrestling cards more properly. It's like he knows, like he's learning how to book, what segments and matches to put on during Dynamite and Rampage and everything. But besides that, outside of that, it has not been the best year for him when it comes to booking long-term storylines and characters, with only a few exceptions, like I mentioned. He's not even booking he's not even booking his most over tag team properly, that being FTR. FTR right now is more over than they've ever been. They are triple champions currently, AAA, IWGP Ring of Honor, and he's not booking them the way they should be booked. He's not. They even addressed that, and obviously, they even addressed that, I should say, at the Royal Crest event, event in London for New Japan. Obviously, Tony heard about it and said, okay, fine, you want to be booked? I'll book you into a feud with the embassy. Okay, fine. You have a team to probably get the belts off FTR. So what? Now you still have FTR with 2 major championships for other organizations. Are you going to continue not booking them correctly, or are you going to book them as they should be? You see, where there's positives, there's negatives. Even when it comes to the champions. Right now, it's just, behind the scenes booking storylines and characters and everything, it's just a mess. Booking incredible cards, like, okay, what goes on here, what goes on there, and all that. That's an improvement. But storylines, long-term storylines and characters and all that, that's been, dropped in a big, big way, which is why a lot of people look at Triple H and they say, this guy's going to be Booker of the Year, and he's just started basically in the second half of the year. Yeah, he literally started in the second half of 2022, I should say. He literally started in the second half of 2022, and people are already saying he's Booker of the Year based on what he's already accomplished. I mean, just the fact that he's letting Bray Wyatt, be his own, content creator with his stuff, as long as he approves of it, that's saying a lot, because that's something that Vince tried, but then Vince said, you know what? I'm going to be hands-on now. I'm going to decide what you do and da-da-da. And it's like, no, you don't do that. When you have someone like a Bray Wyatt on your roster, and Vince knows this better than anybody. He knows this better than anybody. That you should let that person be hands-on with their own stuff. Let them be hands-on, show you what they're doing, and say, I know you may not approve of it, but let's see what happens, and if it doesn't go over, I'll change it. That's it. That's all you do. But Vince wanted to be hands-on. He wanted to be hands-on, so I don't know. I don't know. I mean, it's just one of those situations to where, you could definitely tell the difference between how Vince booked things, Vince and his crew booked things, and how Triple H and his crew is booking things. And you could definitely tell between both companies, how, the big difference between how Tony Khan books things on his own and how Triple H books things along with a team. You can definitely see that, which is why a lot of people feel Triple H has run away with this, in this his short period of being in power. And that's not a disagreement. That's not that's not shunning on Tony Khan. It's just that Tony Khan right now, even though he's learning to get better at one kind of booking, the other kind of booking he's falling down on. And that's not a good sign. He needs to get a team together himself. But again, I think it goes back to the fact that, Tony Khan, is a fan, which a lot of people have come to notice over the past several months, especially with all these behind-the-scenes situations. He is a fan, and his determination is he wants to prove that fans could do just as good, if not a better job, than people that have been in the business legitimately, either as sons and daughters of promoters or people that are, now booking, the company or running the company that used to compete in the ring themselves. He wants to prove that he, as a fan, and overall as an extension of us, the fans, he wants to prove that he could do just as good, if not a better job. And by doing so, he's failing. He's failing that very concept. That's what he's doing. He's failing that very concept. Which is why Triple H right now is running away with it. End of discussion there. But, hopefully Tony Khan, as we approach full gear, will pick it up. Maybe someone will, within the next month or so, say, hey, look, You got Soraya on your team now. You're taking a chance on her getting back in the ring and everything. And that's another thing too. You got Soraya, the former Paige. You want to obviously book her as the face of your women's division, be the one that's going to bring back, importance to that division. You have to book her, not just creatively storyline very creatively from a storyline perspective, but you also have to book her in a way, as far as matches go, to where she's not going to get injured. Because if she gets injured in her first match back, and that first match could be her last, that doesn't make you look good for not taking the booking of this very talented girl, very seriously. And it's just going to be another negative mark on your resume, as a promoter goes. So right now, Tony Khan needs to start getting all his eggs in a basket. He needs to basically start figuring out, okay, who can help me book, AEW from here to Full Gear to get people's interest, back into the company, get people to invest back into the company more so than they have, and basically get the attention off of WWE. Who can I assemble to make that happen, and what can I do to make that happen? That is the thing. Because right now, the only potential Tony Khan has from a booking storyline perspective and character perspective that's going to get people invested in AEW, probably get the attention off WWE and back on them, is MJF beating Jon Moxley clean at Full Gear for the AEW World Championship, booking Soraya, storyline-wise and character-wise, into a match with Britt Baker to where, she doesn't re-injure herself and she does succeed in becoming not champion, but does succeed in her first victory back. You book that, and you book and you conclude what I think is right now the only good storyline that he's booking correctly, and that's Jade Cargill. You conclude her journey from the start of the year to now by making her a double champion. Those are the best things. Those are the scenarios you go. And FTR, if you still have faith in them and you don't want them to start considering going back to Hunter and all that, then you book them to not only keep the Ring of Honor titles, as well as potentially still keep the IWGP and AAA titles, which, that's not really Tony Khan's decision, but still. You book them to win the AEW championships, and you make them the only tag team in history, as far as I know, to hold 4 different companies' championships as far as tag team titles go. And thus solidify them as one of the greatest of all time. So those right there are easy decisions to make. Daniel Garcia beating Chris Jericho is an easy decision. The path storyline-wise and character development-wise, going from this past Wednesday's Dynamite to Full Gear, next month in November, it writes itself. And all Tony Khan has to do is to get the right amount of people, team them together, and help him follow through on those decisions. And hey, he might get back into contention for Booker of the Year. He might be able to come back and just out of nowhere steal Booker of the Year from Triple H, but just by doing something like that alone. But right now, it doesn't look like that's the case. And it looks like even as we get towards War Games, Triple H is basically surpassed all expectations. Triple H has surpassed all expectations in just the two months plus that he's been in charge. He's surpassed all expectations, and he is basically Booker of the Year as of right now, period. And we're not even done. As people like Alex points out, we're just beginning. We're just 2+ months in. We still got the rest of 2022 to go. We got all of 2023. This is just the beginning. This is just what they call the genesis, if you will, of the new WWE Triple H era. Basically, this is the genesis of the new Triple H era in WWE. So, Tony Khan, if I'm you, I get my you-know-what together and basically look at what I pointed out as the best directions, the best scenarios going into Full Gear, starting now, and book those and get a team together to help make sure you maintain that booking for them, so that maybe you have a chance to steal that Booker of the Year away from Triple H before 2022 is out. But right now, Triple H, if Tony Khan doesn't do that, pretty much is the winner, hands off, hands down. But let me know what your guys' thoughts are. Do you think Triple H, in just his 2+ months in charge, has run away with Booker of the Year? Do you think Tony Khan has lost a little bit of that touch of, booking long-term stories and character development creatively? In exchange of learning how to book shows properly? And do you think Tony Khan could have a chance to come back and steal the Booker of the Year from Triple H if he goes down the direction I've suggested heading into Full Gear next month? Let me know down below in the comment section, as well as in the live chat during the premiere. Like the video, super chat, super stickers are open. In the live chat during the premiere, super thanks afterwards. You can find me at BW Roses Discussions, all your favorite audio podcast locations except for Pandora. You can also check me out at VENMO at BW Roses for content you can't get anywhere else. At Venmo and Cash App, you can support me. At Venmo, you can support me at Brian-Warmer-2, and at Cash App at BW Roses 98. Patreon.com at BW Roses with a $1, $3 tier. At my Teespring store as well for merchandise you can't get anywhere else. And until next time, guys, let me know what your thoughts are down below as well. And in the live chat, like I said, who do you think is going to get the Booker of the Year, or get the Booker of the Year award, if you will? Right now, it definitely looks like Triple H. But can Tony Khan come back and steal it if he goes down the path I'm thinking and believing he should heading to Full Gear? Because if he doesn't, it's pretty much a done deal when it comes to Triple H being Booker of the Year. And I think we all agree, Triple H has done a far superior job as of right now in just the 2 months plus he's been in.